On this week's Waypoint, 4.8 makes a small splash but hits Soraka hard, big changes are coming in 4.9, and we have all the details on the Nidalee rework. What's up guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly League of Legends recap for May 28th, 2014. I'm your host, Lindsay Geektron. The relatively small patch 4.8 hit live servers this week, and for once, it looks like an update that isn't going to completely shake up the entire game. The biggest change in the patch was probably to Soraka. We've talked about her a ton, she's a problem. She shoves lanes while harassing for free, then she out-sustains you with her heals. In the late game, she becomes extremely hard to kill and brings a ton of utility and healing to her team. She even has a global power. To try and combat this, Riot have hit the base damage on her lane-shoving Star Call hard. Infuse, which was a free damaging silence when cast on an enemy, now costs 50 mana at all levels, which is massive in the early game. The silver lining for Soraka fans is that every time Star Call hits an enemy, it will reduce the cooldown on her heal a bit more than it used to. This might move Soraka back into the support position, but it's a tough call. She might just need a stronger jungler backing her up now. The really good news is that Soraka has a rework coming this year, which should hopefully turn her into a much more fun champion to play. Blitzcrank, Cho'Gath, and Malzahar all saw minor quality of life changes that should make them feel a bit more modern and fun. However, don't expect any of them to be making an appearance in competitive play in the near future. Although Blitzcrank can always be a strong pick if you're a good hooker, giggity, it's just hard to pick Blitzcrank in a world where Thresh exists, who just brings so much more to a team. Malzahar is incredibly immobile in a game with so many dashes and jumps. Even using his admittedly strong ultimate forces him to stand still in the middle of a teamfight, which is never something a mage wants to be doing. Cho'Gath is just outshined as a top laner by the likes of Jax, Renekton, Shyvana, and Mundo. That said, his AoE silence and knockup are very powerful tools. It's just that top laners aren't really picked for the utility right now, and Cho'Gath's utility means that he has to be weaker at brawling and split pushing. If the patch forecast is anything to go by, 4.9 is gonna be a much bigger deal. Kha'Zix has been tearing it up in the jungle. He's almost in a league of his own in terms of power. He has the burst damage and mobility of an assassin with the brawling potential of a fighter. Riot are looking to readjust his power levels to highlight his assassin nature over his fighting abilities. That matches Riot's original version of the champion, and there's no doubt the bug needs to be toned down. His evolution options are also being looked at to give players more choice depending on the game at hand, instead of picking the same 3 every time in the same order. Kassadin has, shockingly, once again risen to prominence in competitive play, earning himself a 75% ban rate in this week's North American LCS. Riot are planning on dialing back the buffs they gave the Voidwalker, bringing him closer to his original rework levels. The thing is, no one was playing Kassadin after his rework until those buffs came in, so it's going to be a fine line for the balance department, as it always is with Kassadin. Good luck guys, 50th time's the charm, right? Kayle proves that champions beginning with K are the real problem. Right now, she's able to put out very consistent burst damage throughout the entire game, scaling into a complete monster with the right items. Combined with her heal, speed up, and immortality ultimate, she's a champion that we've seen 1v2 more than once. It's unclear how Riot are going to tweak her at the moment, but they want to give her some real weaknesses to compensate for her strengths. Reading the forecast for LeBlanc, it was the same old story. Riot are still really unsure how to balance LeBlanc, keeping her unique identity and make her fair to play against. No one seems to have an idea on how to do that while keeping her viable. Many have a feeling they're just going to hit her numbers across the board, but if that doesn't work or they can't think of anything else, maybe we need to start thinking about a rework. Braum is super fun, super popular, and super strong. He gets tanky quick and can be a major lane bully, all the while bringing massive defensive utility with his shielding. He was disabled in LCS this week, but it would not be surprising at all if we see him soon. Riot are keeping an eye on him, but the general consensus is that he's a little powerful, so expect minor nerfs in the near future. Last week we talked about the undocumented change to Pantheon's ultimate, which players saw as a significant nerf. Riot are paying close attention to the Spartan and are looking at finding a good way to make Grand Skyfall feel good to use without directly buffing its power levels. There's no doubt it feels less fun to use, but part of the problem is that it's so incredibly hard to actually land now. Without directly buffing its power levels, it's not clear how you fix both of those things. We have a ton of details on the upcoming, long-awaited Nidalee gameplay update. We all know what Nidalee does, right? She throws spear after spear, and then when one hits, bad things happen. There's very little counterplay other than a hard engage, which isn't always possible. Riot want to take some of the strength out of her poke and put it into her cougar form, making her more of a hunter, stalking through the bushes. Keep in mind that everything at this point is subject to change and up in the air, especially her new numbers. The two biggest changes are her cougar abilities and her passive. Cougar form now has 4 ranks, the first automatically trained at level 1. Pounce and swipe now direct towards the player's cursor, which in theory will make her feel much more responsive and controllable. Of course, that's only something we can judge after playing with her new kit. Her passive increases Nidalee's move speed in bushes by 10% for 2 seconds, but also increases by a certain amount while moving towards visible enemy champions in a large radius. Her passive also adds the hunt debuff to her spears and her traps, which enhances the first of each of her cougar abilities used against the target. The strength of her passive is impossible to judge without knowing how much of a move speed increase she gets and how large the radius is. It's totally possible to see it feeling really nice to play though, stalking through the bushes, tossing and leaping out in cougar form to hunt the target down, as opposed to tossing a spear, and then tossing a spear, and then tossing another spear. Using her cougar abilities on a hunted target adds some interesting effects as well. Takedown is a straight damage bonus, Pounce has its range doubled, and Swipe lowers Pounce's cooldown. To make up for all of that, spear damage is being nerfed by an unknown amount. The duration of Nidalee traps is being reduced significantly, and her healing is being adjusted. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Overall, these changes sound like they're going to make Nidalee feel much fairer to play against and more fun to play. Yes, we know there's a sick pleasure about chunking someone to 50% with one spear, but come on guys, that's no good for the game. Stalking through the bushes, landing a spear, hunting down a target, changing back to spear again, before pouncing forward with the refreshed hunt debuff, that sounds really fun. Of course, there are still a lot of questions about her numbers, her survivability in melee, what she'll bring to a team. Nidalee players are understandably concerned after an underwhelming Gragas rework and, well, Kassadin's long saga of issues. On paper though, this looks good and something had to change. Now I know everyone here is no stranger to the free-to-play game genre. After all, it's why most of us love League of Legends so much. Zero cost, zero risk, all reward. With that said though, if you guys want to help support LOLNation TV, consider trying out World of Tanks. This free-to-play, team-based MMO is action-packed with hundreds of unlockables and hours of content to experience. Just like League of Legends, it's totally free. One thing I can't stand about most free-to-play games is that they are pay-to-win. World of Tanks is not pay-to-win. Everything can be unlocked just by playing the game, which is really great because it keeps us all on the same competitive playing field. World of Tanks is an amazing game with absolutely no risk to try, and if you try the game right now, you can help us continue to make shows like Waypoint possible. To start your free trial and support LOLNation TV, head on over to gboffer.com/tanks or simply click the link or banner that can be found below this video. And that does it for this week's episode of Waypoint. Be sure to check back every week for the latest League of Legends news. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment below to help us reach more people. And if you want more League of Legends content, recaps, and updates, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, LOLNation TV. I'm Lindsay Geektron. You can follow me on Twitter at Lindsay Geektron. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next Waypoint.
Game Breaker TV.